Hi, everyone. I'm Kathleen Ennis-Durstine, Manager of Chaplaincy Services at Children's National Hospital. One of the things that I feel that chaplaincy is charged with in our organization is the well-being of the whole organization. Things like um, spiritual and religious, but also psychosocial and emotional. And one of the ways that we've been thinking about trying to uphold that is to highlight some of the programs that serve our patients and families. And so today we are talking with Pedro Diaz, who has been manager of language services for 6 years
Yeah, 6 years.
and is now in a new position. And I'm going to ask him to give me his title because I'm not sure I'm going to get it right. Pedro,
All
hi,
right.
welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. So I've been, yes, at Children's for 6 years, and as of February of this year, I'm the new director of language and guest services for the organization.
Guest services. That's,
Mhm.
I can never remember the other half of it. So thank you.
Sure.
So tell us a little bit about the scope of language services here at Children's.
Yes. So Children's language services at Children's basically is responsible for providing language access, as the name states, to every single individual that is considered limited English proficient. That means that the individual may not speak English at all, or may speak some English, or may just need someone to interpret for them in order to communicate medical information in a way they can understand. But also that includes non-spoken languages like ASL.
Oh, okay.
So our goal is to be the conduit between the provider or the staff and patient and family, so that way they can communicate and provide great experience, safety, and quality outcomes.
Wonderful. How many interpreters do we have on staff now? How many languages can we provide access to?
Sure. So for staff, we have about 34 interpreters for Spanish only, actually.
Oh,
And,
okay.
and these are for a variety of different schedules. So we have 24/7 presence in the emergency department. We also have
Wonderful.
interpreters who focus mostly on the inpatient and acute care areas. And we have interpreters that are mainly based or embedded within the ambulatory practices. That being said, for all languages, we partnered with local agencies. They provide over 200 languages
Wow.
in general. We also have over the phone interpreters 24/7 through a partnership for over 220 languages. And we have another partnership for video remote devices that also includes telemedicine for over 70 languages for video remote, including ASL.
Okay.
Yes.
So at least 3 different ways that people can access interpretation for their medical care needs while they're here.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it's very exciting, and like literally, there is always a way to get an interpreter.
Okay.
As long as we're able to identify the language need, then
Okay.
we're able to support that need.
Okay. In regards to that, what is the most unusual or rare language, at least for us in the United States, that we've had to provide for?
That's a great question, and that comes up every now and then. But I can tell you, even though we're in Washington D.C. and you can drive 30 minutes up to Baltimore, and you'll encounter a very different language, different languages, for example. So here in this area, at some point we had Tigrinya, then we had Mixteco, which is a dialect from Central America. Most recently, a language called Dari happened
Yeah.
to just because of the refugees that arrived into the area. But every now and then, with every new resettlement, so we pay attention sometimes to the resettlement practices and refugee practices, because we need to forecast and see, are we going to have language needs for this population here? And we have great partners in the area who let us know if something is coming up.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Have we ever had a language that we haven't been able to provide services for?
Sometimes we have, however, for face-to-face. So,
Okay.
however, we've been able to allocate resources to her over the phone,
Okay.
because the partners that we have are not just local, they actually work throughout the nation. So even if we may not have an interpreter for that particular language in person in the area, they might be able to locate someone who might be in Arizona, for example,
Wow.
because there might be a resettlement community that is larger there.
Okay.
So, so far, we've been able to locate most of the languages that we've been able to list. Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's challenging, but also result, our team is great, so we have to become very creative with our resources and partner with our providers in a way which we can try to secure as much as possible that interpreter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So certainly providing this access to our patients and families is absolutely the right thing to do. But what are our legal obligations for it?
So there's the basically the need for medical interpreters was raised in many ways by a lawsuit. Yeah,
Okay.
so it that kind of like started, people started paying attention about how we're communicating information in a way not only patients can understand but in a safe manner. So some of the legal components that support us are Title VI of the Civil Rights Act. So it's a non-discrimination clause which includes nation of origin but also language. We have the DC Access Law that also requires us to provide the services. We have the strong recommendations from the Joint Commission to provide information in a language that is spoken or the preferred language as well. So we have a regulatory component behind it. Yet I like what you said. It's really the right thing to do.
Of course.
And I think that at Children's, that's something that has resonated from other places that I work, because people really want to do the right thing. And they really care about patients and families in that patient-centered, cared way.
Yeah, I can only imagine being a family that doesn't speak the language of the area that I'm in, and trying to procure something that is so complicated for either me or my child.
Right.
It'd be frightening.
It's very scary, and even just walking through the door, even I think we focus a lot on the medical encounter, but it's about those day-to-day interactions that also make a difference on, do I belong here? How could I transmit care in a way that they understand? So that helps an awful lot while they're staying in the institution.
What are the biggest challenges right now, you think, in terms of providing this kind of care, not only here, but maybe in other organizations as well?
Yeah, I think the challenges are many, yet we're in a much better position than many organizations that I have worked in. One of the challenges is resources, because as you know, in most professions in healthcare, people are deciding to move into other industries. So it happens with interpreters.
Okay.
So they might not be sticking around in healthcare, might be moving on to the big ones like Google, Amazon, for example, for compensation. So I see high demand. Another challenge, I think, is education.
Okay.
To constantly remind people of their rights and actually why it's important to utilize interpreters. It's not for lack of understanding that it's important, but sometimes we undermine the impact that it could cause, So I think that's a challenge as well. And I think the last but not least is also understanding that you have different ways of resources to be able to communicate.
Okay.
So sometimes it's very important to ask the family, is this okay? Would you be okay utilizing the phone? Because we cannot always have face-to-face interpreters. So as long as we establish those expectations, I think we are all in the same field, and it makes people feel comfortable about what we're doing for them.
Wow. So how many services do you provide a day? How many? Well, I know you're going to have to guess it. Probably you have the data somewhere.
Yeah.
How busy are our interpreters?
So I'll put it from this. I actually just got some numbers recently as far as the organization goes, right? So in the organization, and this data may or may not be 100% accurate, but close to 13% of our patient population are non-English speaking patients as far as what our electronic medical record has, right? And that might not be accurate. So that, to me, it might say that there's more than that. So you can imagine that 1 of every 10 patients or patients and families walking around at any given time might need an interpreter, and how many points of interaction has this person have through one visit, through their length of stay.
Absolutely. So if we have 300 patients, chances are 30 of them are going to need services, and we have 30 interpreters.
And we have the phone, and we have the Marties, so there's always a way to communicate, yet there's so many points of contact to add. So that tells you a little bit of the scope of the impact that we have on a daily basis.
I would assume that a family might need an interpreter for rounds, for family meeting, for looking at paperwork. There are so many different things throughout the day
Yes.
that it's not just a one and done, is it?
No, it's not. And going back to a point that you had, right? Like, how can we maximize the resources that we have? And I think an opportunity is that if you know you're going to have an interpreter in person, for example, um, it's really good that every member of the care team knows when they're there, because that way we can plan ahead and say, oh my God, we have Pedro, our interpreter, here for 2 hours. So let's get every single person who needs to communicate to this family so that way we give them a comprehensive update. That way we might reduce another call or any questions that they might have. So the next calls maybe with another the phone interpreter might be for something very simple. But for those critical conversations, how can we maximize the utilization of the interpreter? So that's more like a best practice.
That's great. What do you think the biggest success of the program has been to date?
I'm happy to say that there's so many, but I think the biggest success is the team. I'm very proud of the interpreters that we have here. They are not only wonderful interpreters, but they're good people.
They are, yeah.
They're wonderful people who are truly aligned with our core values. They understand their role, but they want to educate patients, families, and providers. They advocate for patients and families. They escalate issues. They're flexible.
That's great.
So that's the success. Another success has been that we've been able to, because of their professionalism, I think that we've been victims of our success. Now we are part of the care team.
Sure.
Doctors know the difference of working with a qualified interpreter and what does it look like when you don't. So that makes me really proud because that means that we are really making a positive impact on those patients and families. And the biggest success really is seeing that family who will leave this hospital saying, I was well informed, I understood what was conveyed to me, and I felt cared for because I had adequate resources to communicate with. So, yeah.
That's what we want.
Yeah.
That's what we want. So, National or International Language Services Day is coming up May 3rd.
Yes.
So, happy Language Services
Thank
Day.
you.
And
Thank you.
Hopefully we'll find some ways to encourage and thank and celebrate our interpreters on that day, wherever they show up in the hospital.
Yep. If you see them, give them a high five. We're very proud of being part of Children's, and we're very proud of being partnered with a team such as yours and others that really create this sense of community. Because it really does take, they say that it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a city to treat one. And we're really proud of being part of it.
True. Yeah. It gets larger all the time.
Yes.
Anyway, thank you, Pedro, so much for
Thank you.
making some time to share with us today.
Absolutely.
We appreciate it. Thank you
you
all so much.
Thank you.